What's up, folk? I just woke up. Beautiful morning. I want to say though, it's cold here, right, in the mountains of Kenya, whilst Europe is hot, right. Anyhow, man, it's been cold here in Africa. Okay. Um. Yeah, I keep seeing this thing. I want to talk about it, right, and that's the way we African peoples speak, right? Because spokes is important, right? Uh, you might see. I just watched a video talking about Igbo women, and I'm not going to speak down on Igbo because it's not just Igbo. I've seen it all over, right? Um, like what I've been to physically and what I've seen on the internet, right? And that's the way that we speak, right? The way that we treat our children, right? So what I've seen in this video is this woman with her daughter. She has a knife. The daughter's screaming. She's on top of the daughter, right? And you see this sort of conflict. You see this beating. And I'm going to give an example that I've seen personally out of Ghana, right? Out the village, right? Where a child was running, screaming, loud, crazily. A girl, right? Another lady followed behind her, older. And not looking visibly upset, but definitely not understanding. It's normal, basically, right? So African peoples, this is a normal thing, right? And really, what happens, what has occurred to us, is because of our own doing and allowing, right? Nobody marched through Africa. What all has been what we've done to each other, right? So, and yes, of course, the influences from the outside, but we made it easy, right? And I'm talking about Africa. If I'm going to talk about the Americas, that was even worse, and that's why the Americas look the way it is now, right? I mean, there were already roads expanding from north to south, slavery, all of the sort. So it's not just Africans, okay? But the plight that we put onto one another, right? So this child, you know, it's a thing where people turn their ears or cut them off, you know, in the village for anything that's occurring, right? Because something's always occurring, right? So you just don't get involved because you don't know the danger that you'll put yourself and your family into. But me, I'm alone, and I have the purpose that it is that I have, and so I don't care for the norms and this, that, the third. That sort of thing just, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't affect me. Right? I come to provide better, right? As a black man myself. So anyhow, I confront it, not aggressive. You know, I say, hey, why? You know? And she says, she's not obeying, blah, blah, blah. And I say, she's not obeying. She didn't do anything wrong. I not listen to you neither, right? It's one thing to do something wrong and teach lesson. It's another thing to beat because of non-compliance, right? Now, to put into a contrary, I seen a white family, a young boy, disrespect his mother, right? And dad stayed silent, grandpop stayed silent, grandmother came to aid and supported the boy, right? Another instance, a young boy disrespected the people, and granddad said he's a natural leader, this, that, the third, right? So what I'm seeing, and we all know it, right? White people, they look at the features and what, and they say, oh, it's of the gods, and they make these stories, this, that, the third, rather true or not, right? Because spokes are important. Black people, what we go do, oh, look how well endowed. Look at the curve or the feature of this or that, right? And so that's something we have going for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So the mentality, right? If we spoke more of doctors, explorers, kings and queens, which we do, right? And so we do have a king and queen mentality, but it's not fully developed, right? And so if we spoke more of what it is that we want to see, then we would see it more on the continent. That's it. That's a quick little thing I wanted to say. Maybe I'll add a clip. Peace. Oh, and to add, while I was in the village myself, I actually spoke on some of it, or would, right? And, with some friends of mine that I've made while staying out there, right? Some older people and what. Just some things that I see of difference. It's a lot of similarities, right? A lot of the characters, the personalities, are just like us in the States, especially on the west side of Africa, right? But one thing I pointed out is, again, spokes and how it is that we speak to our children, right? The children there, what I see a lot happening on the continent is children are used as labor. They go do the cleaning, the fetching of the water from the wells, the cooking, right? And I critiqued how, I don't see you all speak good unto your youth, right? It's like a caste system of age, and an Afro think tank has spoken on this once upon a time, right? But I tell them that in the States, when we speak to our youth, when we see them, we say how pretty they are, how smart they are, the great things that they will do in life, right? This is something that we Black Americans do, we African Americans do, right? And when I made this known to my constituents, I guess to call, right? They acknowledged and they said, yeah, we actually don't do that here, right? And to whomever might see this or however, maybe consider, spokes are important.
But it's always an Igbo woman when it has to do with child abuse and violence against children. Nigerians, please pray for Blessing CEO as she's living under Nebuchadnezzar. Freedom at Sekponyi. This was the video of.
Ignore how she's walking like a hippopotamus. That's an Igbo woman in Enugu State who used a razor blade to cut the toe of a girl, a child, who was living with her. You see how she was walking like chimpanzee, like Ozodemba. Anytime I make this statement, it's not all Igbo women, but it's always an Igbo woman. Whenever abuse or violence or this wickedness on children is involved, a lot of you get offended. But how many minutes or how many hours ago was it that we spoke about the one that happened in Abia State, where a woman without nyash tried to buy a small girl, 12 years old girl who was living with her. Today again, we're talking about this one. This one actually happened in Enugu State, and people paraded her on Monday. That is 2 days ago. On Monday, she used razor blade. See the image of the girl, a small child. That girl, Pata will be like 11 or 12. Where is her heart? Or where was her conscience when you were... like, what was the girl doing? What was the girl... You see, yeah, until we start pronouncing pain on these people, this thing is not going to stop. And you Igbo celebrities, Igbo women, the best you can do for yourself is to start speaking against this thing. And people need to learn how to train their own children. Train your own children. Even if it's Gary, drink Gary with your children. Because what happens is you end up sending your children to all these evil and wicked women who don't have nyash. And the reason why most of these women behave like this is because nyash they no get. They feel no get Bobby, or they feel just puff. You understand? Okay, that's me being too much. But honestly, something needs to be done. These children need to be safeguarded. I am tired of talking about this thing. I am sick and tired of talking about this. It's always an Igbo woman. It's always an Igbo woman. 98% of time I've spoke about this on social media is an Igbo woman. I checked yesterday. I spoke about this in about 11 times. And out of that 11 times, it's only one was a woman from Edo State. The rest of them were Igbo women. Igbo women. I don't know what it is though. But God go help una. God will help you people.